Okay then. So, David, it's over to you. If you'd like to share your screen, and off you go.
Okay. Right, does that come up yet?
Yep, that's there.
Right, slideshow.
That's it. You're there. That's right. That's lovely.
Okay.
Yep, that's it. That's perfect.
A little bit of background first. All this originated when I asked a question, and the person I asked the question of turned around and said he didn't know and I should research it. So I then started digging and put an article out in the Postage Due Study Group, which elicited a response from several more knowledgeable collectors, and we got together and we almost sorted everything out. There are still some question marks over dates, but I gather that's not at all unusual. Anyway, introduction. Pre-30th of November, each of the cantons had their own agreement between France and themselves. And there was agreements between various cantons where they carried each other's mail onward bound towards France or inward from France. Now, all these had different start dates, but it rather intrigued me when I discovered that they all finished on the 30th of November, 1845. Prior to this date, there is a great many articles have been written on the mail, and I'm showing an example here from Freiburg, well, Marat in Freiburg, and it's typical of the type of mail you have. You've got the dispatching office, you have got an oblong rate marks, the transit office of exchange, the translation of the local charge into decimes, and the final French charge. This one has got an additional penny, decime for local delivery. But all changed 45. Now, why did things change? I discovered that Switzerland, as in just about every other country in Europe, had religious wars. And they split into two areas, one essentially Catholic and the other essentially Protestant. And they had proper fighting, some of which lasted over a week, but not much longer than a week. I include this because I found this rather delightful picture of the what was the Swiss Civil War. Anyway, you mentioned in bottom right, you've got 14th of November 47, Freiburg surrendered, and the federal state of Switzerland, which is all the cantons in agreement, began on the 12th of September. Just as an illustration of what was going on, in green you have got it's listed as liberal, and the pink is listed as conservative, and the yellow are neutral people. But you see, rather interestingly, Freiburg, it was actually isolated. Anyway, that's information I knew nothing whatsoever about until I looked at it, until I did some digging. Anyway, with the ending of the convention and the beginning of the federal Swiss society, country, you had a very interesting and very confusing period. Essentially, what happened was each of the cantons became independent, and some of them renegotiated contracts with their adjacent cantons to get mail out to France. And you also had mail coming in rather strange directions. Anyway, the cover I'm illustrating here is from Freiburg, which was one of the isolated cantons, via Bern, and you've got a transit Bern mark there. Office of Exchange Marche, or Marche, not sure how it's pronounced. You've got two charge marks, the local Bern charge mark and the final French charge mark. A point to note, bottom line, the pre-45 rate from Freiburg to the French border had been 12 crus, which was the equivalent of 6 decime. So there has been a radical reduction in rates in this particular instance. Again from Freiburg, this time going out via Geneva, because as illustrated in the earlier map, Freiburg was actually isolated. You have got the other marks, you have got a, go back. You have got the TG in red, which is transit Geneva. You have got a 3 decime charge mark and an 11 decime French mark. Well, as it says there, the 3 decime charge mark in red indicates that the charge has actually been prepaid. So essentially you have got just the French charge plus an additional decime, which if it was a local delivery, certainly Bazairs had local deliveries, but I would have expected them to have the 1 decime charge mark. This one from France to Switzerland follows the old postage rates. You have got a 10 crus charge into within actual Switzerland, and you have got an 8 crus, which is 4 decimes charge mark, which was the rate from Lyon to Geneva. So it's illustrating that the rules aren't consistent. Time moves on, and we've got 1846 to 1849. We have got what appears to be a standard 6 decime rate, which has appeared. I have got no published information on this whatsoever. The only constant is that the 1 decime Geneva charge mark started back in 49 and has continued through. Another oddball from Bâle or Basel, depending whether you're French or German, and also depending on which part of Basel or Bâle you're actually in. 4 decime charge for arrival in Avignon. I have got no information whatsoever on this 40 centime rate. I cannot find it listed anywhere. So if anybody's out there has got any ideas. 46-49, there appears to have been certainly from to Basel or Bâle from France, a standard 10 cruise charge mark. Now, during this period, you have got the 1849 internal postage rates, 20 cents paid or unpaid. So it doesn't tie into to anything. At that period, Basel or Bâle was charging either 1 or 2 decimes. So the charge within France would appear to have been 8 crus or 4 decimes. So why? I don't know. Okay, move on to December 49 and the introduction of a new postage rate, which appears to be valid from border departments to anywhere in France. So it doesn't come under a local postal rate regime, because the offices of here are actually beyond 30 kilometers. Again, there is no published information about this rate. I have now seen about half a dozen covers, and it is consistent. And it even works for second weight level items. So that really is the almost said intifada, the rate between the ending of the general rules for all the cantons with separate contracts to France, and a universal contract between the federal state of Switzerland to France. Again, that area is a work in progress, because just about every cover I find shows a different wrinkle. Okay, we start off with border rates. Now, all these are published border rates from various sources. And there is another one which I haven't added, which is from early 1857. You'll note that these are paid, unpaid, and it was only after 65 that you get a difference between the paid and unpaid rates. Now, the Swiss rules and regulations demanded that border mail had to be appropriately marked. And the common mark, which is between France and Switzerland, is the department limitrophe, or neighboring department mark, which interestingly is used for I've only found it from Mulhouse or Mulhausen, from there to Switzerland and Germany. So this is a published rule in Switzerland, which is not actually kept. This is the second order rate level, 15 Rapin. No border charge indication that it's a border rate other than the charge mark. From Mulhouse to Bâle, you've got the correct use of the depth limité mark, and as well as the 15 Rapin charge mark. Okay, rates gone up to 20 centimes or 2 décimes. Snorkel mark being used now. It was actually a regulation from, I think it was about 1850, that rates from Switzerland to France had to be marked with a snorkel in the Office of Exchange. Anyway, it's just an illustration of the different rate. The one point to point out, the actual distance is 31 kilometers. It's supposed to be limited to 30 kilometers. In other instances, the Swiss have been very strict on that, but I would expect that this was a special dispensation. Oddball ones. I do like the oddball cover. Originally rated at 5 décimes. The 5 décimes mark overstruck by a 3 décimes mark. And as you see from the map, you have got Colonies, which is under Peter, and you have got Muth up there, and I apologize for pronunciations. And you will notice that there is no direct route between the two. It has got to head north, and so travels way back. My mouse control is going mad. So it's traveled considerably more than 30 kilometers. But as the office to office distance was less than 30 kilometers, it still counted as a local postage rate. It actually traveled something with between 60 and 70 kilometers. Okay, we now move into the more normal rates, where there's a convention to post for a particular rates. Now, this 30 centime rate doesn't appear in any of the books I've had access to. It might be in the other one, which can't remember the name of it now, Madam thing, but I haven't got a copy of that. But certainly on the internet, on all the published rates there was no mention of a 30 centimes rate. And I put it down as an oddball when on the first article I wrote about the rates. But a great deal more digging turned up from a very helpful Swiss collector. He dug into the Postal Museum in Switzerland and unearthed 3 conventions to post. But essentially, they cover either from a border French department to a non-border Swiss department, or a border Swiss department to a non-border French department. It does vary in wording, and those rules appear to be applied throughout. Date December 49, which is actually before the published start date. This is when I commented at the start, as I say, these postage rates and dates, etc., sometimes bear very little relationship to published information. Anyway, that's a standard 30 centime Geneva mark, and it became the standard practice for Geneva. Non-border French department to a border French Swiss department, 30 centime rate. Going the other way from Mulhausen, that's a border French department addressed to a non-border Swiss department. So, you know, and I had to learn all about rayons and such like, but you can read that. Next regulation, essentially the same. Essentially the same, but it's showing again under Peter we have the 30-cent mark, but it was originally struck with the French 30 cents postage due mark, which was obliterated. Now, this is where I started having real problems when I first started coming across these things, because the amount prepaid was totally ignored, and the full unpaid rate, or paid or unpaid rate, was applied. I'll ask the question, that's a timbre insufficient mark in script. It's the only time I've actually come across that mark, and I've no idea whether it's an oddball or a standard. 15 centimes underpaid, cents underpaid, 30 cents postage due charge. Again, a Geneva letter with the 35 charge mark. This is interesting in that it has got what I presume is a local French timbre insufficient and a Frenchman insufficient. Apologize for my pronunciation. Lived in France over 15 years and I can't pronounce anything correctly. So it's just that shows that it's actually gone through, in effect, 2 rating systems. You had stylized back. You had stylized 30 cents marks. This one was used in orb for a fairly limited period. Non-border French department to a border Swiss department. Now, again, the published book on this says that the double-lined 35-cent mark was used as a maritime postmark. I have never seen it used as a maritime postmark. I've only seen it used on mail to Switzerland. There's one there from Marseille and the other one from Paris. There should be, according to an email I received, but didn't get a photocopy of the described cover, a Lyon 35-cent mark, which is not surprising as Lyon acted as a collecting point for mail going towards Switzerland. Okay, all that was mail from France to Switzerland. Now we're looking at mail from Switzerland to France. Originally correctly rated 35 cents, but it was crossed out and a 4-decime snorkel was applied. So we have got a non-reciprocal postal arrangement going on here. But if the Swiss charge was prepaid, you have actually, it's allowed, and there you have 35 cents of Swiss stamps posted to Villefranche and allowed, and it's even got a PD mark. I have received absolutely no explanation from this from anybody, including a Swiss postal museum, which came back and says they have got no records whatsoever. The more general rate was 40 cents, which is, this was applied to the ones where it was border to border, which didn't comply a border rate, or a non-border to a non-border thing. You have at first, and this is where dates come in again, I suspect that the implementation date from this was 1st of January, and I can't see it in the corner, but it's the same date as the implementation of the 35 centime rate. This is the earliest 40 centime rate I've come across, and it's 17th of February, which would tend to point to 1st of January 52 as a start date. A general start date, we'll come to that later on. Again, you have got a Genève 40 centime charge mark. Now, when I started digging through this, the postmark books listed the 40 centime hand-struck script as only being struck in Bâle or Basel, and I have got no record of it in red in Bâle or Basel, but it seems that it was a more general mark. But manuscript marks continued to be used alongside this, and I think it's not my subject, but someone's been collating these marks and has, I think, got up to 6 different towns where the hand-struck mark was actually used. Now, Bâle had to be different, and they used a black mark instead of a red mark. Reason for that no explanation whatsoever. All the marks I have seen in black have come from the same correspondence from Gubwiller, or however it's pronounced. There are red Basel marks, but you have got black ones as well. Again, oddball. Now, as with the 35 centime rate, underpaid covers were treated as unpaid. This particular one, it's addressed to a post restaurant, but there was no charge was made for the service at this period. Franked at 20 cents rather, centimes, and charged 40. And to make certain, you have got a red 40 and you've got a 40 hand-struck snorkel, which is not accordance to regulations. Another cover, this time using the 40 centime due mark, again franked 20 cents, underpaid, full rate charged. 30 cents, prepaid 30 cents, 10 cents underpaid, 40 centimes postage due charged. Going from anyway, come to that later on. Redirected mail. Now, this is the only example of redirected mail I have found that is correctly franked within France, but then readdressed into Switzerland. In this case, they only charge postage due at the amount underpaid. And I had great fun in tracing all the postmarks and identifying them all. But you have actually got a manuscript, affranchement insufficient, and the 40 centime charge mark overstruck by a 2 decime charge. So what is up with this thing? So the correct mail posted at the correct rate, when redirected into an area which had a different rate, was only charged the deficient postage. Now that actually also applies on internal Swiss mail, because they had specific local rates and district rates. Right, rules and regulations again. This was charged, appears to have been charged at the 4 decime rate pre the generally accepted start date. So again, there was a certain degree of independence within the departments, and start dates and such like for various things in Switzerland and also in France seem to depend very much on the postal clerk. And I do love oddball covers. I've listed this as Switzerland to France, but actually it is Germany to France, but treated as a Switzerland to France cover. You'll see in the map, Thengen was only just over the border. Koblenz, or that version, that place happened to be called Koblenz, is in the Argah department or canton, Switzerland. So it appears that it travelled presumably by rail to Bâle, and it went through the Bard Bureau de Bâle exchange, but treated as a French unpaid cover. As I said, that's just explaining the start of the snorkels, etc. This particular place, just outside Le Seine, which is just outside Sissac, and a little bit of personal recollections. In my working life, I worked on European standards or norm European. And many of the meetings took place in Bâle or Zurich. And a work colleague who ran a Swiss manufacturing company was based in Sissac. So I used to stay at the old post inn at Sissac, which had some very peculiar rules. You couldn't have a proper ensuite room. You could either have a room which was ensuite with a toilet or ensuite with a shower. And over the toilet was the instruction that gentlemen were to sit down after, when using the toilet, after 10 o'clock at night. Anyway, that was personal recollection. Originally charged at the border rate, re-rated at the 4 decime. Redirected, so the original charge mark was, because it wasn't prepaid, they were then entitled to charge the full rate on redirection. Weight levels. First weight level followed rules, 80 cents for up to 15 grams. This one's rather nice in that it's got a too late postmark. I like this one because it has been re-rated. Nothing really to say more on that one. Manuscript marks. Charged 80 centimes. Should be second weight level. Sorry, there is a stamp lurking under there. This time it's yeah, let's come out of that. See, there's the postage stamp under there. Right, so in that particular instant, it was charged 40 centimes, which was at the single rate. Now we will come back to that much later. $120 rate, up to 22.5 gram. Straightforward, except this one is again another re-rated cover, originally rated at the higher level, re-rated down, and you have got the weights written in there. Next weight level, 160 cents, centimes, or 16 decimes. And then we have got the 20 cent or 20 decime rate up to 37.5 grams. What they put into this envelope, I don't know, but there are crease marks all the way round it. So there was something square was inserted in it. Okay, from that was France to Switzerland. We now go from Switzerland to France. We've got a rate change now going down to 30 centimes. The date of this is fairly secure. I haven't seen it overwritten anywhere. 22nd of March 65 to 1st of January 76, which you will know was the first day of the GPU, General Postal Union. Anyway, posted after the rate change. Now, at this latter time, completely unpaid letters are a little bit of a rarity. Most of the stuff I've come across is actually underpaid. How about that for service? A cup of tea has just arrived. Again, the full postage rate has been charged, and you have got a different, what to me is a non-standard timber insufficient mark there. This one is again standard underpaid, recharged at the full rate. It's got a manuscript and a hand struck 30. 30 is showing the 30 in blue is almost certainly French, and that is presumably a local Swiss mark. Using the standard double-lined postage due mark, but this time on a letter going to Switzerland. Here we have a number of different charge marks. You have got a Parisian insufficiently paid mark, and you have the blue crayon, and you have got the black ink. Right, Switzerland to France. This is an area which is actually quite hard. I've only ever seen less than a dozen covers underpaid from Switzerland to France at this period. The Swiss would appear to be very conscientious on how they're actually franking their stuff. But again, prepaid, well, the equivalent to 10 cents, but recharged at the full rate. Franked at the frontier rate, not allowed, and marked as 30s and decimes due. Nice snorkel. This is a piece, but it's the only example I have got. oh, sorry, that one's pointed out. That's taken the unpaid rate minus the amount prepaid, hence giving the postage due. But these things go all over the place, and there you have got the 4 decime, the full unpaid rate being charged for a single rate letter, postal stationery. As I say, there's a calculation rate. Prepaid 25 cents, 5 cents underpaid, marked as being 30 cents postage due, crossed out and marked as being 3 decimes postage due. Again, these things vary. Completely unpaid, Switzerland to France, used a snorkel, a 5 decime snorkel. Now, again, these are quite hard to actually find because it was the norm to prepay at that time. You're at 66, you're well into the prepaid area. Going the other way, you have got a hand-struck 50 and a manuscript 50. Again, this is duplicated on the second cover. Quite hard to get hold of. This is the 100 centime rate, up to 20 gram. Amount prepaid was subtracted from the unpaid rate, resulting in a postage due charge of 70. 100 minus 30 is 70. You then go into the General Postal Union, which is beyond what I'm covering. But that shows that they're still following in effect the same rules, but the T is required under the GPU. And again, going the other way, is the treaty, etc. It explains it there. So the method used, franc 25 cents, 5 cents underpaid, postage due 5 cents times 2, which equals 10, which is 60 minus 25, 35, which was the foreign Swiss postage rate. So again, rules and regulations. Right, now this is a bonus. I had a copy of the journal sat unread on my desk, and this is it. It's Chris's article. So this is actually in response and is illustrating Chris's article, but just mailed between France and UK. Start off with the postage stamp calculated at the unpaid rate, no amount allowance for the amount prepaid. UK to France, unpaid rate was 80 cents. So it was postage due charge at 7 decimes. nice and straightforward. This is a similar cover illustrated in Chris's article. The PD mark has been cancelled out in both cases. Letter charge, letter is marked ½ an ounce, so was 4p underpaid. Total unpaid rate was 160. 160 minus 4 gives you 120, which is 12 decimes. Straightforward. Single rate cover from France to the UK. Rate 8p or 80 cents. Franked 20 cents. So unpaid rate minus the amount prepaid gives you a 6p due mark on arrival in the UK. This illustrates that there was some confusion. You have got a final charge there of 6p, and you've got an inspector's mark there. But it was originally had a higher rate put in, which I interpret as being, I think, 12. But anyway, it just goes to show things change. So the final one was charge unpaid rate minus amount prepaid, charged as postage due. Right, we go up to a double rate cover. You have, it's marked as being 12 grams, so double rate cover. Originally a 12 charge mark, which has been partially crossed out, and you have got a clear 4 decime charge mark, or a 4p charge mark, because it's going to London, which was the amount underpaid. Was this an abnormality? No, we've got one double rate cover, underpaid, a clear 4 charge mark, 4p charge mark. Another one, this is standard. I've got half a dozen of these covers, and I assure you that double rate covers were only got from France to the UK, were only charged at the single rate postage due. I would welcome any explanation for that. While we're on this cover, the quartered circle there is used in the Northern District, but it was more commonly used on mail from West Africa. So the post office kept the same postmark and just moved it mail to West Africa, I think from Liverpool. Again, 40 cent prepaid, again, same rules taking place. Same rule taking place. Again, special, it's listed as being, the quartered circle is listed as being used for special purposes. Anyway, there you have an explanation, one. And if Chris, if you can come back to us.
Thank you very much, David. If anybody's got any questions, they'll have to unmute themselves and put them to David now.
Not really a question, but just a couple of comments. First, I mean, amazing display and amazing, kind of research. So congratulations on that. I think you had one cover that was from Jouy-en-Josas, and it was listed as from Saône-et-Loire, but that's actually a city near Versailles. So maybe that has an impact on the rate calculations. I wouldn't, I wouldn't know enough there.
I'm working on Google Maps, and some of these places have got, you've got the same name turning up all over the place. So I will convert.
Yeah, I don't know of a Jouy-en-Josas in Saône-et-Loire, but maybe a small city somewhere might be. The one I know for sure is near Versailles. So it's definitely.
I'll have a look at that.
Yeah, and then I think, I mean, I have seen in the area that is most of interest for me, starting in 1892 with a group type. Mail from France to Switzerland is also quite tricky sometimes, because effectively you have mail that is being sent and then it goes across the border because it is forwarded to someone who is vacationing in Switzerland. And sometimes there is no extra fee, sometimes there is an extra fee because of it's further away from just the border area. Unless you effectively have access to documentation and local rules, it's mind-boggling. It's impossible to make sense of. So I mean, I applaud what you have done in an area that is like 40 years earlier.
Yeah, I have also got a collection of France to Switzerland in the postage due stamp period.
Yeah. Yeah, there's quite a few of those as well. But it's so inconsistent in the way it is being treated that it's very hard to say there was a rule that was applied consistently, because you can see example of no postage charge, just the insufficient charge, and double the insufficient. How do you make sense of that?
It's typically French.
Yes.
The French were quite careful, actually. It just depends on the period and tariff which you're talking about. They were actually very accurate. There we are. Anyway, we've had a very good afternoon. Thank you very, very much, David. That's very complex, a lot to think about. Bear in mind that when you've got underpaid mail or postage due from one country to another, it's the receiving country that applies the rules or applies the charge, not the sending country. There we are. Anyway, our next meeting will be on the 21st of November, and I think you're a little bit short, aren't you, at the moment, Mick? You'll have to unmute yourself.
I beg your pardon. Yes, I'm getting nowhere with this. I've had one person so far who's actually committed themselves by sending me enough for 2 PowerPoint slides. I've got one display left over from the previous one, but that needs work doing to it. And I have one other person who has offered but is struggling to send me the material. He's not a very well man, and I think he is having difficulty. I can't, to be honest, Chris, I can't see it taking off.
I'll send you something. I'll figure something out.
I can try and put
by all means do so, and I can chase up this other material. But what concerns me is that there's going to be, certainly with one lot of material I've got already, there's a considerable amount of work for me to do on it, and likely the second as well. So if I'm going to have work sent to me, I need it virtually straight away to meet that deadline. I mean, I've got some material I can put in myself, but I don't want it to be a Mick Vista et al. Display. I'd rather step back and have other people's material. So if anybody who's here now can send me something within the next 2 or 3 days, I'd much appreciate it. Yeah.
Okay, then we'll just
I'll
have
come back to you next week anyway, Chris, to see how things are, because I'll say I'll chase up these other members, but I am not confident it's going to materialise.
well, I can probably put something together and I can run it separately if necessary.
Mhm.
I have to do it in a quicker, I'm a bit tied up. Has anybody got anything else they wish to say at this juncture? Thank you. I see Hank's joined us a bit late, but never mind. Well done.
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, thank
Thank you.
you. It was good. Right.
Thank you for
Right.
your
Thank you
patience.
very much,
Very
David.
much, David. And very good luck with all your appointments in the next few days. Going often as Andy. Where are you
It was
going?
my mistake. I thought it was 4 p.m. The meeting. Sorry about that.
That's all right. That's all right. Well, this is the
Bye-bye.
problem. Europe is still 1 hour ahead of us, I think. We're
It will remain like that forever.
And Hank, if you want to be confused, the meeting is 6:30 a.m. It's Portland time.
Ah, okay,
Yeah.
good.
Oh, I can see this. I can see the sun is rising behind you, Louis.
I don't know about the sun. There is some daylight rising, but it's foggy, it's rainy. It's
Oh,
Oregon.
dear. Sorry.
It's Oregon.
okay. Well, a
Take
very
care,
big thank
everyone.
you, David.
Okay.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
very much,
Yep.
David.
Bye-bye.
Close it down. Good luck.
Thank you.